Hello, and welcome to the Ascendant Art podcast, where we are on a search for art that is ascending above the mainstream. This is Mike with Catalytic Comics, your host, along with Vinny from Little Chad tonight. And as well, we have a special guest, Adam Crigler of the Crigler Show. Welcome, Adam.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Absolutely. I know Vinny had talked to you a little bit, was telling me a little bit about your show. I went and checked some of it out. And I have to say, I'm really impressed, of course, with some of the stuff you're creating over there. If you don't mind, for some of our listeners, tell us a little bit about what you do and how you do it.
Sure. I do a daily show Monday through Friday, 6:30 Eastern Time on YouTube. And basically what I do is I'll see what the current events are, seeing what's trending and what people are talking about. I talk politics, science, space stuff, pop culture, movies, pretty much anything. I really enjoy having guests. Sometimes I'll have random guests come on my show. I've had mayoral candidates. I've had scientists that are working on space construction companies. Pretty much anyone could come on my show and we just talk about their life and what they're doing. I really enjoy having conversations with different people out in the really just of humanity, because we're all so different and we have different opinions, and it's great to have conversations. I do that Monday through Friday and just, have a good time. I have an amazing chat that shows up for me. A lot of great supporters out there that are helping me out, and also a lot of people that are in the YouTube online community that are also very supportive of me. It's great.
And I know I'm probably between me and Mike, I'm the longer term fan because I've been watching you going back to when you were on another show, and I followed you. So, but we'll move on from that. I just want to plug the stuff when you do the science and space stuff. Those are my personal favorite shows. I think that that's something that I don't get a lot of on YouTube.
Yeah.
It's really easy for the YouTube algorithm to basically push content that's about, like, oh, Hawkeye sucks, and
right.
And look at the newest the stuff like that. So I really love when I can just turn on your show and it's like a deep dive into some kind of scientific breakthrough or research. And I don't want to use the term, but it's the most appropriate palate cleanser, for the soul, to just actually realize there's really cool stuff going on and there's people who talk about it.
Yeah, I don't like to do rage bait. I don't talk about other people. A lot of people probably expected me to make a bunch of videos about the former show that you slightly mentioned, but and I could, but that's just not the type of person I am. I really want to be positive. I really want to find a way to bring us together because we're more divided than ever. And, science is one of those things that, well, I guess trust the science is now a perspective issue instead of you're not even allowed to question the science sometimes. But I really try to break apart from that and be positive and have a positive energy, because it feels like most people thrive off anger. And granted, it is addicting. I don't think it's good for the world.
I was going to say, I've always heard this saying that the emotion that gets the most shares on social media is anger. So when you're trying to do a positivity basis for your podcast and for your videos, is there anything that you look into to either help market it or to help grow it, or is just the consistent putting out good content all you need?
I'm still figuring out, to be honest. I feel like I'm still kind of new in this realm. I only started YouTubing in the beginning of 2020, basically right when the pandemic hit. And what a proper time, too, because everyone was locked in and searching for alternative news sources. And I don't know, it's tough sometimes to remain positive because of the way the world is right now. It can be oppressive.
I live that on social media. So I do the Little Chad comic strip, which by design is supposed to be a fun comic strip that it's aimed for kids, but can be read by parents and kids, adults, right? It's meant to be wholesome and fun. And that sometimes attracts some of the not nicest people. And I'm fine with that. That's cool. But what I did notice is that Twitter, which is one of the main places people find my stuff, I can see my follower count drop when I put just nice, wholesome stuff if I avoid like flame war content. There was an incident like a few weeks back where somebody was saying one of my comic strips was a tool of the patriarchy, and saying the meanest things. And I can tell you, one of my co-hosts over here, Joey, was telling me I shouldn't have been, but I was very nice to the person, and I basically interacted with him. I started messaging him. I was like, I'm sorry you don't like my comic strip. I think there's going to be ones that maybe in the future you do. Why don't you keep checking it out? In fact, every Monday when I publish them, I'd love to hear what you have to think, even if you think it's garbage and cringe, right? Just share your opinion.
How did they respond to that?
They said that, you know what, this is my favorite part. They actually said, I think I might have overreacted
Nice.
in one of the things I was saying, and actually ended up saying nice things. I shared a comic strip edition that I did that showed Lil Chad and Aunt Karen having a nice tender moment. She was like, "Oh, that was really nice." And I was like, "See, this is not. I'm not about the patriarchy." And I had a lot of people like in the mentions and in the comments trying to like antagonize this woman as I'm talking nicely to her, because I want to open a dialogue, because I don't think it serves anything. It's just like, even the people who follow me on Twitter who are supposedly fans are trying to like pile on someone when they didn't need to. And it was,
I love that energy right there. There's such a big, huge issue with this left versus right, not necessarily in a political term, more as just saying polar opposites, right? It could go with any subject. There's always this divide, and people need to understand and realize that we can disagree. And there will always be people out there that don't agree with you 100% or 0%. It doesn't matter. You can never have this utopian world where everyone feels the same way, believes the same things, and lives in harmony. Like, that just won't ever exist, because we're human beings and we're all so drastically different. So online, we're still, as a society, as a human race, we're still integrating the internet into our daily lives. I mean, it's getting more and more norm, right? But we're still not understanding the effects of how kids are being raised, and our connectivity is different. And as we mentioned earlier, the anger is so addictive. It's the most addictive emotion, but it's also the quickest to fade. So you have to keep it up. You have to keep finding things to be angry, or reminding why you're angry, or else it fades and then you move on. So those people that are dogpiling, I've got to give you props, man. The way that you handled that, that's taken the high road, which so many people don't know how to do anymore, because they have, maybe they're just too prideful. But it's not the way to bring us back together. And, you basically said, like, I'm not the patriarchy, but, I have my own opinions on things, and you might not like this comic, but you might like a different comic. Just because I disagree with you on this one subject doesn't mean I disagree with you on every single facet of your life. And that's what people tend to feel like now.
I was going to say, and it makes me wonder too, because there's also, I think people are still learning the phenomenon of sense making. A lot of people tell me like Twitter is this place where you go for just doom scrolling and just getting angry and flaming people all the time. And I'll tell you, I have never had that experience on Twitter, because I had a great mentor on social media who just told me, it's like, hey man, like, you do get to pick who you follow. You have autonomy over what's going to come into your channel. You do have a block button and a mute button. Go use it. So what's cool about that is 90% of the time I get on, I just see this like really excellent art from like all these great artists just coming through every day. And it's a totally different experience when you just start saying, hey, I do actually have control over like what I'm going to put in front of me.
and
Yep.
let's also point out that this week you got called out for making the definitive breakdown of the Vermilion storyline for Common America. There was a nice compliment from Tim Lim telling everybody that your video going over that storyline was probably the best one that he'd seen. Compliments to my co-host for making his YouTube content getting called out by a creator like that.
Nice.
And we got our other co-host finally showed up. He woke up, which is great. Hey, Joey, welcome to the party.
Yeah, hope you're doing better, sir.
I mean, you're lucky I woke up, because I feel like garbage today.
I recently just got over COVID, and one of the most prevalent symptoms that I dealt with was fatigue.
Yeah, like a mild fever and just super tired all the time. I slept 15 hours yesterday.
Well, I hope you feel better soon.
I appreciate it.
Now that we've had kind of the intro and kind of going over what you've been doing and making, Adam, what I'm interested to find out from somebody who's actually been very successful in the YouTube space and the content creation space that way. There's a lot of competing platforms and a lot of different places you can go. There's people plugging Odyssey. There's Twitch streaming. There's you. Now you've gravitated mainly towards YouTube, and I know that was partially a function of where you started,
Right.
but you've stuck with it. What is it about that platform that you find is most creator friendly and makes it the one that you like to use the most?
Well, I can monetize it. That's number one. I mean, a lot of creators, Salty Cracker for one, pops to mind. Hey, left YouTube and his following followed him. Now I'm currently on a ban. I got a strike and I have not been able to post for 2 weeks. I get to be back on Thursday. So I really do need to be getting on a different platform. So when this does happen, even somebody called me out. They're like, you could have been just doing your show this whole time. It just happened that I'm at my mom's and I've been around family. New Year's and Christmas fell right into the time when I got the strike. So, I was like, you know what, maybe I'll just take a break. I was sick with COVID too for a couple of weeks. So it was just a big space that I could have been doing my show on other platforms, and I really need to do it. But YouTube is very, man, I don't want to because YouTube is great and all. If it was old school YouTube, like the Wild West of videos, because that's what it used to feel like. Where nowadays it feels like it's becoming the left arm of the narrative. You could kind of sum that up yourself as to what I'm saying. Because I don't know where you guys post this stuff, but I always am very careful of what I say about certain subjects, because on YouTube you can't, which is very unfortunate. People are like, you should multi-stream, or you can stream over here. But I have my following on YouTube. I have almost 200,000 subscribers that I've gained over the past 2 years. I gained a lot of it from being on the Timcast show. A lot of people followed me over after I got fired from that place, and I'm very grateful for that. But for me to just start up on Odyssey, I have 3,000 followers, subscribers, or whatever on Odyssey. So it's like, even though I think that my core group that show up every day for me, I always see the same maybe 100, 200 people that will be there every day, and they'll probably follow me over. And I really do need to set up that so that if YouTube does decide to strike me one more time, I'm done. They delete my channel. And the scary thing is, they gave me a strike for an episode I did over a month and a half ago before they got the strike. So they were sifting through old episodes. It wasn't like I just did something new. Oh, that broke the terms of service, give you a strike. It was, hey, this video we just found way back when, you're going to get a strike for that. So it worries me, because currently I have 2 strikes on my channel.
You're going to be like Obi-Wan, man. If they strike you down, you'll become more powerful than Darth Susan ever imagined.
Well, and you know why? I agree with that, because I have such a solid group of people that are supporting me. Like Nick Ricciata, for example. I was on a show yesterday. Dude is hilarious. I laughed so, my cheeks were hurting at the end of the episode, because he's really fun, easy to talk to. I've got a bunch of different people, the Geeks and Gamers guys, Nerdrotic, Heel vs. Babyface, just Flawedzilla, just like I'm building like a community among the YouTubers and the people out there that will bring me on their shows. Jeremy from The Quartering, he was one of the first people to reach out to me after I was fired when I was starting my own show, and he helped me get even more followers. Even if YouTube does cut me off, I'm not going to stop doing what I'm going to do. I might not do Monday through Friday, because I really would like to do an album. I'm a musician as well.
I do want to plug when you used to play music on the end of your shows. I think it was on Fridays when you used
I still
to play.
do that, actually. Yeah. I still play. I love it. I lose a lot of my audience, because not everyone wants to sit and hear me play music. I'm sure my music isn't for everyone. That's fine. But for the people who do stay, they really enjoy my jam nights, and have been asking me for an album for well over a year. And my wife is an audio producer, or a music producer. So the only excuse I have is that I'm not doing it. And I would love to get on that. So I don't even know what you asked me. I just kind of was going.
I do want to say that personally, I really appreciate your story as somebody who got in terms of his project that's known because it was boosted by somebody you're maybe not involved with anymore.
Yeah.
To just kind of dance around that subject a little bit. Yeah. I definitely relate on a personal level to kind of your story, because it's something where I feel like I was making the content and people maybe were giving credit somewhere else. And it was like, no, that was really kind of me. And now that I'm away from that, I'm hoping that the people who liked it before follow me and continue to do that. So seeing you be successful in your own thing this way is, even though it's a completely kind of different space than making a comic strip like Lil Chad.
I understand, though.
It's still very heartening, for somebody who's kind of got a similar, what is it George Lucas used to say? It doesn't repeat, but it sort of rhymes,
in
terms of things like that.
And also, too, as we're talking about this, I know you mentioned a number of creators that you've worked with and shows that you go on, and I remember Nerdrotic in particular because I've chatted back and forth with that guy a few times. Tell me also a little bit about just what was the process or just maybe the experience of kind of building and connecting to other creators in the community.
I think I was really lucky. I feel I have a lot of luck. It felt like it was just very natural. Garrett from Louder with Crowder, who actually just left, he now works for Nerdrotic, Quarter Black Garrett as he goes by. He actually connected me with Nerdrotic and got me on the Friday Night Tights show. And I had a blast. I fit right in with those guys. They're sarcastic, self-deprecating, and, rip each other as much as they rip others. And it was just a great time. And I don't know, they just invited me back. And I've been on that show maybe 4 times now, just every so often. Their show overruns mine, so usually I'm not able to join their show.
I've noticed that it's a nice happening. YouTube kind of makes it easier for you to
every
get
time
on.
I get banned, I do like a different tour on different people's shows.
I mean, that's why one of the reasons you're here with us. So I guess not so good, Susan, but also good for us. Thanks, Susan.
Yeah, no, we were gonna make it happen anyway. I would have made time, but it's nice. Like Nick Ricada, he followed me, and his chat is so brutal. I don't know if you've ever sat in his chat.
Oh my God,
before,
his chat is Thunderdome, man. It's like,
and he's the target. So I fit right in. I just started making fun of him, and he was like, "Oh, hey, Crigler's in here. Like, what up, Crigler? You want to come on my show?" And I would just jump on his show. Like,
by the way, I watched live last night when you got him good with the nose joke. That was so good.
I can't believe you fell for it.
So for people who didn't see it, like Nick Ricada is kind of sensitive and gets mocked for having a very large nose.
He's not sensitive. Don't get it. No way.
Well, he was joking about it, and Adam says, "Oh wait, you've got a big nose," and gets him to turn to the profile on the camera, and it's like,
I was like, "Yeah, turn to the side," and I'm like, "Dang, you do have a big nose."
And he goes, "What? You'd never seen it?" He's like, and Adam goes, "Yeah, I've seen it." He's like, "Oh,
of course I've seen it. Are you kidding me?"
It was. In the moment, and that's what I think a lot of people really like, what YouTube has going for it that other media doesn't.
Authenticity.
Yeah, exactly. And people find it on YouTube because it's the biggest platform for it. Mm-hmm. But the reason people keep coming back is because it's real.
Yep.
It's not packaged. It's not manufactured. It's not, focus group. We try to be positive about, the good art and stuff like that. But sometimes you've got to bring up the example, right? And it's not
the Descendant
like The Last
Art,
Jedi.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's
say The Last Jedi and art in the same sentence, though. I mean,
well,
as an example of what's bad.
Yes, the Descendant Art, and of course Joey's favorite episode of all for Descendant Art. Go for it, Joey.
Go ahead, Joey. What's the one that's the worst?
I mean, Cowboy Bebop, I thought.
You know it.
I was actually going to go into something else a little bit.
Oh, I thought you were going to mention I Am Not Starfire again.
That's right.
Well, I Am Not Starfire, I mean, it's been done to death, and honestly, it should have died a long time ago. But no, I just thought it was kind of interesting that you can look at all the terms of service and the rules and regulations of YouTube, and the vagueness therein is an excuse to curate content. I mean, that's what they're doing. They're curating content. So,
oh yeah, absolutely. Well, the reason I got my ban this time, because they said that it was misinformation about the 2020 election, and they changed their terms of service 8 months ago that you can't say that a certain somebody won because of discrepancies in something that would have elected him. So they gave me a strike because of 2020 misinformation and whatnot. And I was reporting on a New Jersey governor election that just went down 2 months ago between Phil Murphy and Mike McAuliffe, I think his name was. I might have that guy's name wrong, but they didn't count a full county. Like a full county of like 800,000 people wasn't counted. And I was like, this is insane. They already called it for Murphy when it was 40,000 votes was the difference. So I'm like, how are you going to call it? This is insane. I'm glad that I know that my vote counted because I was able to check online with the 2020 election. That is like the only time I mentioned the 2020 election. I was talking about something completely different. Never said the word fraud, never said any sort of trigger words. And I feel like it was just like an algorithm that was like, well, it seems like discrepancies, whatever. But I was reporting on two actual mainstream media news articles. One was that they called it for Phil Murphy, and the other one was that the whole county wasn't counted. And that's it. I didn't break anything in the terms of service. I asked for a human review. I'm like, there's not once do I even talk about the 2020 election. The only time is when I said, I know my vote counted. So if anything, I'm actually saying that at least the 2020 election was secure, even though I'm not saying that. I wasn't saying it, but that's the only takeaway from that, because I said I checked and my vote counted. So I know that. But if I was in that county in New Jersey for this governor's election, I would be pissed. I don't know. It's crazy, man. I don't know how they got that, but they rejected my appeal and just nothing I could do about it. No explanation.
And the thing is, we never know what the other side of it looks like, because it could just be someone in a cubicle just having to click 200 of these a day.
Yep.
And they're like, oh, whatever, just push this one.
And I found out yesterday that YouTube actually outsources. It's a third-party company that checks the different strikes and appeals, which is insane. It's not even
why
YouTube.
Would you pay somebody a living wage to do something like that? I mean, outsourcing. I can,
Right.
As someone who was just laid off last week, I can say a lot of things about that, but I'm going to stay positive because it's a good job market allegedly, and we'll see how that goes.
Yes, indeed.
Right. 4.5 million people lost their jobs in November.
Yeah, well, at least my place waited till December 30th, so they were being nice. They waited till after Christmas. They were nice that way.
Sure.
On a positive, getting back to some of the fun stuff.
Sure.
Now, you're growing your audience. You're doing great from a creator standpoint, and because I'm basically mining this for information for myself, because maybe this might be how I go. What is have you done Twitch as well as YouTube? Have you dabbled at all in that one? Because I am intrigued, because I do see a lot of people doing a lot of stuff at Twitch, and I don't think it's always playing video games. And so I'm just like to see if there's somebody who has personal experience doing stuff there.
Well, I definitely am on Twitch. I have a good following there. It's just I keep it separated 100%. There's many people that will come into my Twitch stream and be like, hey, what do you think about this political thing or that political thing or this medical thing? And I'll just straight up tell them, like, I am gaming right now. When I'm on Twitch, I'm Commodore. I'm not Adam. My friends call me Commodore Crigler. That came from Sea of Thieves. I was playing pretty heavy in 2020. Lots of fun, that game. But I kind of need it for myself anyway, because all day I sit and read the news, and it's tough enough to remain positive with the news that is out there and the way that people want to blame others instead of just trying to figure out how to move forward, which always bugs me. There's not enough people asking that. Like, how do we work together to solve this issue instead of saying it's that person's fault? So when I go to Twitch, I'm like, all right, I'm gaming and I'm, trying to survive in Dead by Daylight or trying to kill Diablo with Diablo 2 or, whatever game I'm playing. I'm just like, you know what? I just want to get into the game and enjoy that and then talk games with the people that show up. So it's always a smaller crowd because a lot of people follow me for my political positioning and my opinions on whatever segments that I bring up. So I keep it separate. I have to. I mean, I know Gothix. She's fantastic. If you don't know who she is, she's just really great and logic-based commentary on daily things. And she does her show on Twitch. Savannah Hernandez, another one who's rather based, she does her show on Twitch, which is crazy that they allow her on Twitch because she's really spicy when it comes to political views. She is the producer for Slightly Offensive on Blaze. I don't know if you know who Savannah is, but she's great. So Twitch, I mean, you can do it. I just feel like from what I've heard about Twitch, it is more left-leaning in general than your average platform. So I'm always afraid, to start talking politics and they're going to be like, yeah, we don't like that. Although there are definitely political channels on Twitch.
Well, sometimes they'll just doctor disrespect people, and it has nothing to do with politics, because I think he was their biggest streamer, and they kicked him out. And I know there's a lot of mystery still about why that happened. And I still lean to give his business that there was probably something to do with after whatever that other service that was throwing money at people's folded. Twitch didn't feel like they needed to pay Dr. Disrespect probably the fat checks that they were. And that's my thought on why it actually happened. Because if there were other stuff going on, it probably would have leaked out by now.
Yeah, that all happened pretty much before I entered I don't even know what I would be considered, like internet commentating circle that I'm now in. I was a pro skater for a long time. I was just skating. I didn't go online. I would just be skating all day. I lived in New York and I would skate, I kid you not, like 20 miles a day. I lived in Brooklyn. I'd skate all the way to Manhattan, meet up with my friends, and we'd just skate all the time. Pretty much before I landed the Timcast gig, I was traveling. Me and my wife just traveled the world. She has an RV, and we, lived in Europe, just driving around and traveled around the States. I don't know. I didn't really pay much attention to the internet realm and Twitch world and this drama that was escalating around me without me paying attention to it. And then of course, when I opened my eyes to it, it was I was blown away, and you can't really close that once you open that door.
I do think there is a tendency for some people who are more in it to think that how do I put this? Internet famous isn't necessarily real world famous at all. And
True.
sometimes things
Very
that
true.
are being very heavily covered very highly on the internet don't even penetrate at all to the average person, like you as a skater in New York, like wasn't like whatever, didn't even get there.
Exactly.
My father, who's just an older guy, watches regular television. When I make a comment about something that I think everybody's talking about and he has no clue, even though he's watching the news all day, and I'm like, oh, I guess it doesn't even get covered at all over there. And what is it? Eric July calls it the normies. The normies just, they do represent what, like 90% of the population. And for most of them, they have no idea about any of this internet stuff at all.
Yeah, they're just
even
trying to
when it's
live their
fight.
lives. Life's tough already, I mean, you got to work for it to be successful in any industry. It's something like 2% of the population is on Twitter. And like, granted, that's a lot of people. But at the same time, what happens on Twitter is not reality.
There's a great channel on YouTube called Clownfish TV. And
yeah, I know Clownfish TV. Sure.
And they point out, and I think they're right about this, when the people left Tumblr and went to Twitter is when Twitter got really bad. Because it used to be Tumblr was where all the like worst people on the internet were.
Okay.
And when Tumblr like shut down, and it's funny because what killed Tumblr was when they decided not to allow adult materials onto it. And then all those same people decided that they couldn't be on Tumblr anymore. So when they went to Twitter and shared a lot of their opinions, and Twitter went downhill fast from there. But it's still like you said, even with all of those people there, as high a number as it is in just number terms, as a percentage of the population of the country, of the world, it's not huge. It doesn't move the needle for regular people. And I think when we finally get a lot of influencers and high up people to realize that, things will get a little better.
Well, and there's a problem of stereotypes, right? I mean, I don't like stereotypes because people will look at one person and stereotype them and then attach that one person who's a complete individual with all of their own opinions and just attach it to anyone else that is similar to them. And it feels like that 2% that's on Twitter, if you're on the left side, you're doing that to the right side. If you're on the right side, you're doing that to the left side. And everyone has this issue where it's your fault, it's your fault, it's your fault, it's your fault. And it's all about that. And it's such a shame because most people, society's like 1,000 cogwheels, right? All moving in unison. And to put the blame of any one thing on one cogwheel, like one individual, never is right. It's always wrong because it's never just one simple, it's your fault, you did this one thing. And the stereotyping that goes on is insane.
But the thing is, you're right, like to try and understand that complex of a system, however. I know one book we really like here is about Strong Towns. It's a book about, how do you build great cities? And I know as one of the core points of the book was complicated systems, you can understand every part of it. Like you can open up a car engine and understand every piece. But yeah, like that many human relationships you cannot understand. But very often you're right, like it's kind of a shortcut almost. It's like, well, if I can just take these like thousands of people who are all each a little bit different and I can just pretend they're all the same person, then it's easy for me to know what to do. I can just kind of shortcut to it. But you're right, like that's when people start stepping over each other, and things that could become a great moment of understanding, like Vinny was talking about on his little chat earlier, those things disappear really fast.
Exactly.
And I feel like when I get a lot of pushback, trying to make wholesome, happy, good for everybody content is difficult. And
well, that doesn't exist. Good for everybody. That's a term that is a fairy tale.
I guess, I mean, representing my value system, I guess wholesome content. That's
well,
where I go.
but I like the way you just said that, though. Representing your viewpoints, right? I mean, that's the best that you can do, because as soon as you start catering, pandering, people on the internet are not idiots. You know, the internet is a hive mind, and they learn off each other. And if one person will call it out, like, oh, this is pandering. This isn't authentic. This is fake BS. Like, man, there's so many examples I can come up with. First one is, the changing of genders of beloved characters that have existed. You know, they're just pandering, and everyone's like, this is BS. And they're like, you're racist. It's like, no, you're just pandering. You don't even care. You're just trying to virtue signal instead of actually making like an awesome character for somebody. You're giving them down like watered down stuff.
Yeah, we did an episode where we talked about the Jonathan Kent change to this, for the Superman, comic books. You're going to get all the stands on the online to fight for a mega corporation defending its ability to hold copyright and not give it back to the original creators and creators' family because they've made a new character now. Jonathan Kent is a new character and therefore has copyright protection going again another 100 years. Whereas the original Superman character will revert back to the Siegel and Schuster estates have been suing about it for years. So by making a brand new character, it's the same argument for Miles Morales being suddenly the most prominent Spider-Man,
right?
Because by creating a new character, the Ditko family and these other people who have copyright claim to take back ownership of the Spider-Man character, even if the estates win, then all of a sudden Marvel can just say Spider-Man is Miles Morales. Sorry, you don't get any money. Oh, but we'll have the entire internet defending us because it's not because we were protecting our corporate bottom line.
Right.
It's because we were promoting a new, more diverse, more 21st century Spider-Man. You guys are just bigots because because you're wanting Peter Parker to be Spider-Man when Miles Morales should be Spider-Man. By the way, make sure that copyright check doesn't go out anymore because it's Miles Morales. We don't need to cut that check.
Right.
It's like, and I think that, because I personally believe that you can usually ascribe to corporations motivations that support their corporate bottom line first, if it's present, before you go to the woke stuff. But, nowadays, sometimes they make decisions that don't make any sense and don't even support their bottom line. So maybe I'm wrong.
Here's the thing, though, right? Like, if your hero could stand on its own merits, it wouldn't have to wear my hero like a skin suit to succeed.
Thank you. Eric July actually we talked about this last time I was on Tuesday night's main event, which I'm actually going to be joining.
Well, there you go. You can share Joey's mic drop line and see if Eric July supports it. I'm sure.
Well, no, he definitely does. He says that creativity is dead. These people can't even create, and they are too fearful. And these corporations just want to go with what sells already, what's already established.
One of the best examples in pop culture in the last couple of years, I think, was the new Charlie's Angels movie that had come out, and the week leading up to it, and I forget which publication did it. They had an interview with the director, the actress. What is her name? Anyway, but she basically said, this isn't for men. This isn't for the male gaze. This is for the women of the world. And that was like on Wednesday or Thursday. And then when the box office report came in like Friday and Saturday, that same place pulled up a thing. It was like, men aren't going to see this movie and it's not making money. Why aren't men going to see this movie? It's like,
and let's be honest, the movie theater scene is generally your teenagers and your young 20s kind of people. Other people go, but like it's a popular date spot. So if it's not for men, then a lot of guys aren't going to take their girlfriends there. So you've also precluded a lot of women from going and seeing the movie.
Do they know what the original Charlie's Angels was built for? Probably not.
I worked at a movie theater. I remember when that thing opened, and I know exactly what it was built for because I was near a Marine Corps base, and I can tell you who was buying the tickets, and they went and saw it, and they liked it. So that's why it got a sequel, and this new one didn't.
And the other thing that happens too is just because you take a female cast and then throw in a bunch of like frumpy, mousy characters does not mean it's a pro-women movie, right? Like there is a way to make movies and content for women. So it's like when you take something that was made for a male audience and then you take away the male part of it, that doesn't mean it's for women. It means it's for nobody.
Or everybody.
Oh, you remember when they did that with video games? They fixed all the video game characters and made all the girls like fat and dumpy. I just remember one of the pictures was like she was a champion Muay Thai fighter, and I'm thinking to myself, why did you make that woman fat? She's a Muay Thai fighter. She wouldn't have an ounce of body fat. Like she looked more accurate before you fixed her.
Look, all I know is I wasn't allowed to play DOA beach volleyball anymore, and that was disappointing because the physics engine, they must have invested so much money in a specific zone that I don't think anybody else ever put money into. So it was the best physics engine for that bouncing motion that was ever in video games. And
the ball, right? The ball bouncing, the volleyball.
Of course, like that ball deformed exactly the right way.
Exactly. What was the old Anna Kournikova ad from Wimbledon? Like only the ball should bounce. But DOA was a really popular game franchise, right? And it was a really popular spin-off franchise with the beach volleyball one. And everybody knew exactly who was buying it and what they were buying it for and why they enjoyed that game. And people, when they were, I think the most recent edition of it started getting up in arms on, I'm sure Anita Sarkeesian had comments about it and whatever. And then when they tried to go and fix it, and I was like, your market is not the people who want it fixed. The people who buy this game every year it comes out are not the people who want this fixed. It reminded me of when McDonald's in like the late 90s, early aughts decided to get rid of supersizing and this other stuff because they wanted to cater to people who wanted healthier foods. I was like, the people who want healthier foods aren't the ones supersizing at McDonald's.
Right.
Tom McDonald has been very successful on that front.
You're not, and they were like, oh, our sales went down after we did that. Why did that happen?
Right.
It's like, because then you told the people who usually went there that you didn't like them. And the people who didn't like you didn't turn around and start coming in and buying. And it goes to what Eric July talks about with comic books. Like the people who demand these, as he calls them, tokenized characters aren't ever the people who buy comic books. I used to spend, and it's embarrassing to say it, probably around $70 to $100 a week.
Wow.
At the comic book store. Because I previously had a good job. And
how much is one comic? Like $10?
No, not. Oh, well, at the time when I was spending that much, it was probably around $3.99 per comic.
Oh, so you were getting a lot a week. Okay.
Yeah. So I was buying, like, I bought volume. I got a big collection. And I remember when I stopped, it was when they made Captain America a Nazi. When they decided to retcon it so that Captain America, and this was the worst retcon of all time because it wasn't like he was just being mind controlled at that moment.
Yeah.
They went back, and it was in the Secret Empire crossover event. They made Captain America a Hydra secret agent from when he was a kid, and he was always an agent of Hydra, just a sleeper one. And It was like, this was the 75th anniversary year of like the creation of Captain America. So they had brought back Steve Rogers. He had given up the mantle for a little while, and they brought him back. And it was like everybody was really pumped that Steve Rogers was back as Captain America. And this is what they do with them. And it totally turned me off of all Marvel. I didn't buy another Marvel comic book. I haven't since then. Nice. And that was, I think, 2016 when they did that. I was spending that much money per week, and they got rid of me. And I don't think they replaced me with someone who even bought like 1/10 of the comic books on a weekly basis that I was doing.
And I think this is also a chance to kind of bring this around full circle to what we were talking about at the beginning about the concepts of positivity and a lot of people looking for stuff to blame instead of trying to come up with actual solutions. That we know of a couple of companies. I know because I was into a number of games when I was younger, and of course, right, EA Games took all my favorite titles and trashed them. Right, a lot of us know about how Disney Plus right now, like, it is
Ugh.
just the touch of death for so many great franchises. There's even a small book project that I've got that I call The Economics of Morality, and I've got a couple draft pieces on economicsofmorality.com. One thing I started to realize is, like, there is a concept of, like, real value, and value is not just money, but it's something that you want to go and get. Like, when you were buying all those comics, Vinny, it's because those comics had value to make you want to go to the store and get those. And what happens is you can either create value or you can consume value. And when you run around blaming others, right, you're consuming value. And the thing is that, yeah, when there's a whole bunch of value that's been created in these franchises over years, you can do that for a while. But you're right. The question is now, who are going to be the people to go create value again now that it's all being burned up?
It's well said. Yep.
And that's where I think the independent creators are coming in to fill that void, because they're making new creations and they're getting success because they're building communities and fans, and through customer service, through good content,
Yep.
through good products, by fulfilling the products. There's a reason, like, and we talk about this place a lot, Iconic Comics. We bring them up almost every podcast, because they are, I think, one of the most consistently good independent comic book creators at delivering their stuff. Common America, Doug Ernst with Soul Finder. They do amazing stuff. They get out their projects on time. They deliver a good value because it's hardcover books at like around 10 to 15 bucks a book. And people, and you can see it, they grow every campaign they do. Whereas you're seeing in the mainstream market, and they talk about how much bigger they are than all these independent creators, but they're shrinking. They are losing customers. They're losing the customers like me, and they're not gaining any new ones that are going to do that kind of thing. I really think that with the technology, as you talked about, Adam, with the internet kind of being something we're still developing, like kind of how we deal with it every day.
Yeah.
But one of the great things about it is it's really given a lot of tools to people to create on their own. You can do things without needing, with your music, right? Even if your wife wasn't a music producer, you would have all the tools in a PC nowadays to make a record on your own. You wouldn't need to go to Columbia Records like you had to in the old days.
True.
You wouldn't have to sign away your masters. You wouldn't have to do all this stuff. You can make it and sell it and monetize it your own way. And I do think
dude, shout out to Tom McDonald. That dude is a freaking boss.
And exactly. And so the democratization of content creation is something that I know that there's a lot, we've talked about the different ways that some of the bigger people are trying to control what you talk about in content creation, but the genie's out of the bottle, and there's just too many outlets it's like playing whack-a-mole.
Yeah.
You're not going to be able to knock it all down before another one pops up to put stuff out there. So I do have a lot of hope, and I am a very optimistic person by nature, that in the next 10 years, especially, just the content creation is going to just go all out, just like blow the roof off things and be even beyond what we think is there. I think the real scalable thing is going to be when we get movies that are independently made, that don't seem cheesy and bad. Like
Daily Wire. Daily Wire is doing great stuff. I mean, they picked up Gina Carano, and they had a really good, I think it's Run, Hide, Fight is their first movie they made. Really well made. I think you hit the nail on the head. We're witnessing people who are craving authenticity, and, they don't want to be pandered to. They just want really good stuff. They don't want to be lied to by the mainstream media either. That's why they're seeking out alternative sources. And the internet allows people to circumvent this control that these people have had over what people think and what people see. I mean, the past couple of years have been insane as far as just the way groupthink happens. I'm talking about many different things, medically, politically, pop culture, all these different things. Everyone's got this crazy divide, but it's because they're losing their grip. Everyone's kind of seeing the grift that they all have had, the power that they've had. And everyone's like, you know what? We're kind of over this, and we're going to go to good artists that really care about their art and are doing it for themselves, because the best artists are the ones that do it for them because they love the art, and you can absolutely tell the difference between a true artist and someone who's just doing it. You might be an amazing singer, but you won't have any soul. You know what I mean? Like the soul is where it comes from, and that goes for all kind of art out there.
At the end of the day, beautiful art is true.
You just feel no emotion at all in any, like the song is maybe technically sound.
Yep.
It's produced obviously, impeccably, but it just didn't move you. And it, like, there's that, like you're talking about, that authenticity, when you've got an authentic creator speak, whether it's somebody who's speaking in front of a camera or singing or making, a book or, whatever the art that is they're making is, people have this innate sense of authenticity that just resonates.
Yep.
And the groupthink thing is happening. And I think one of the reasons why everybody's being moved to look for YouTube creators or the Tom McDonald's of the world for his, independent music creation, or the Bryson Gray and these other guys putting stuff out, is because even if it's not exactly what your normal cup of tea, there's something that's so powerful about authenticity. It just drives people to it. And I do really think that's something that I try to put into my work, is the authentic viewpoint that I have.
Yeah.
And I know that Mike's doing that with his work when he gets his comic out, and Joey's doing it with his book. And I see it every day when I watch your show, when I'm allowed to, when YouTube hasn't, put you on that. But on the plus side, then I get to see you on Ricada and do it that way.
True.
But the authenticity is something that everybody should try to, and don't fake it. Don't just like hop on. Because I see people who I see it on the YouTube algorithm, like, making Brie Larson videos because everybody else was making Brie Larson videos. Like, you can kind of tell when you're just hopping on a bandwagon and when you really feel that way.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if we're coming up on time, then I got to ask the important question.
Sure.
It's about the art of coffee.
Ask me about it.
So far, I've had the Costa Rican coffee.
Okay.
It was pretty good.
Nice.
What would you say is the best blend?
Well, my favorite currently is my Catalyst blend or the Commodore's Reserve. They're very similar. Commodore's Reserve is a little darker. I don't know. I don't really like the what is the name of it? I never get it. Yirgacheffe. Yeah, that's not really my flavor. For those who don't know, who are listening, I actually have my own coffee business. It's called Crigler Coffee. I have 8 blends currently, and I just like fresh coffee. I really did this for myself. I was sick of trying to get a good thing of coffee from the store. Every single time I'd buy coffee, I was disappointed. And the difference between anything you can buy in the store and my coffee is my coffee has a roasted on date instead of a best by date. Meaning when you order coffee from CriglerCoffee.com, they roast it after you order it and ship it out immediately. So you get fresh coffee. And
you're saying your coffee's got integrity.
Yes. It's good, fresh. It's probably the freshest coffee you can get now. Like, I name a place that you can get fresher roasted coffee and I'll believe you, but I've had people that hit me up. They're like, I just ordered my coffee 2 days ago and I'm now drinking a cup of it and it's the best coffee I've ever tasted. I'm like, thanks.
And I just want to kind of do a nice little Destiny plug right there. Mike, what's the name of your comic line? Not a trick question, Mike. Catalytic Comics?
Catalytic Comics, yes.
And
I like it.
And Adam, what did you say was one of your favorite flavors right now?
The Catalyst. That's funny.
So there we go.
That's actually, so I used to ride professionally for Arbor skateboards. They're a California-based snowboard skateboarding company, and I actually designed a board for them, and it's called the Catalyst. Yeah, so I like that. The Catalyst.
I was going to say, because in my case, actually, I studied catalysis for my PhD, so it influences a lot of my artwork, of course. But it's true, because what's cool about the catalyst is there's a lot of chemistry that you can't do unless you get the right catalyst. And that's the thing. Once you drop it in, things happen. I mean, I love the concept. I'll tell you what, dude. So you produce music, you've got the coffee company, you got, in this case, design a skateboard. Are there any other things that you want to kind of mention as we start ramping it down? Stuff you're up to or stuff to shout out?
Yeah, I mean, I'm really excited about the future of my show. I've I've been making some plans. I have Quarter Black Garrett, who's going to be joining me and has been joining me every Wednesday, of course, when I am doing my show. And Monday, I'm starting a new show with a buddy of mine. His name is Darth Call, and he actually is a Twitch streamer who dresses up like full on is Darth Maul. And he does Jack Sparrow as well. Like, he's a voice actor, and he's incredible. But he has a lot of political views, and he's very much on point, and we've become pretty good friends over the past year. So he's going to be joining me every Monday. So I really like having conversations. When I'm by myself on my show, I tend to talk with chat. The chat is the best, and I'm just looking forward to the future of my show because I feel like I'm bringing in some really cool people to have a conversation. So look for it on YouTube. It's called The Crigler Show, and I'm live Monday through Friday at 6:30 Eastern Time.
Yeah, such an honor to have you come on and talk with us. And
Thank you.
looking forward to just seeing what happens on your show, and of course for the other guys with the future episodes in the coming weeks.
I appreciate that. Thanks for having me on.
Well, thanks for being here.
Definitely.
All right. Well, let's have a great week, gentlemen.